delighted to host this panel with all of you as attendees today. Welcome to our session. And we have very interesting panelists lined up for you for today's session. I am the moderator of this session. My name is Archana Sinha, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Nourishing Schools Foundation. Our mission is to help children take charge of tackling malnutrition, and we'll share more about that as we go through this session. We are also a member and a proud member of the School Meals Coalition. To start off by introducing our panelists, we have Dr. Joshita Lamba Seni. She is the Deputy Lead of the Food Fortification Division of the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India. As some of you may know, that is the apex regulatory body in India set up under the government. She is also providing technical assistance in FSSAI's Eat Right India movement, a really compelling initiative that you'll also hear more about during our session today. She has done her PhD in the area of probiotic content of traditional Indian fermented foods from the University of Delhi and has several publications in international and national journals. Thank you for joining us today, Dr. Joshita. We also have, hi Joshita. We also have Deep Jyoti Sonu Brahma, who is the co-founder and co-lead of the Farm to Food Foundation, a very experienced social entrepreneur. Farm to Food Foundation is enabling communities in the northeastern region of India to take control of their own production and development processes so that they can build a productive, change-oriented and self-reliant society. He is also a member of several coalitions. He's on the executive board of Catalyst 2030, a seed member of the board of Commutiny, and the board advisory of Vartalip, the convener of the Aksom State Collective, and a member of the Assam State Coalition on Health, Nutrition, and Livelihoods. Welcome, Deep. We also have Trishita Dalui as a panelist. She is the Finance and Business Controller at DSM. She's in fact a finance professional and a business partner with over 18 years of experience, and she heads the finance function for DSM in India. DSM, as many of you probably already know, is a company invested in health, nutrition, and biosciences. As a part of her role, she also leads the corporate social responsibility initiatives of the company, and she helps shape projects that follow DSM's core values. Welcome, Trishita. And then we also have my colleague, Sana. Sana is an associate director at the Nourishing Schools Foundation and an expert in the area of public health. She is our technical coordinator for our session today. Thank you. Thank you, Sana. So we will hear from each of the panelists soon. Before that, I just wanted to summarize some of the themes that we are going to cover during our session today. We're going to talk about the benefits and the challenges of including fortified foods in the school meals. We're going to talk about the link between agriculture and food fortification. And we're also going to cover the topic of how school gardens run by children can supplement school meals and become a tool for nutrition education. So before I hand it over to the speakers, I would also love to get a sense of the diversity and richness of the audience that we have with us today. So before we get started with the questions, my colleague Sana will just share a link in the chat to a Mentimeter poll. And if you could just humor us and spend less than a minute answering this poll, what it will ask you is to enter at least one word that describes how you feel about school meals. So we'd love to hear from you on that and get a sense of the perspectives of the audience. So we'll pause for just about a minute as you fill that out. Again, the link is there in the chat, and it's a very quick and easy poll to fill out. Great. I can already see some responses coming in. Looking forward to seeing a few more in this Mentimeter poll link. Great. I'm just going to very quickly share my screen and show us some of the results that are coming in. So a lot of interesting words out here. Unsurprisingly, words like nutritious and nourishing and nutrition are there, which makes sense. And that's closely linked, of course, to what we're going to discuss today. Children, of course, because they are at the center of what we're doing. Education is, of course, something that's very linked to school meals. We're going to talk about that. Inspiring, I hope that that's what hearing about a lot of examples in the panel today is for many of you in the audience. It is definitely foundational. And it's very interesting to see how we're also linking it back to the benefits such as equity and it being very wholesome, important for life, making food delicious, social protection, and so on. So thank you so much for taking the time to share your thoughts with us. And we'll also be covering many of these themes today as we go through the questions. So to set context as well on why we are talking about this topic, in our work as Nourishing Schools Foundation, we really began our work with the insight that often children are treated as the beneficiaries of nutrition programs rather than as co-leaders. And that's something that it is very important to shift. And the way we look at doing that is by reaching out to school children through a toolkit, which is a box of games and activities, as well as a foundation food literacy curriculum. And through this, we help children learn about nutrition concepts in a fun and engaging manner. And then we encourage them to take action to look at tackling it, because they could look at setting up a school garden to access nutritious foods, or they could set up a hand washing station. And of course, this is not something we do alone. We work with partners in over 250 schools in the country. In India, we've also piloted in Nigeria and Zimbabwe. We have collaborated with government organizations, including the government of Karnataka, on implementing the school meal guidelines. And our work has also given us insights on the need for school meals, something that the coalition talks about. For example, we've collected over 15,000 data points from children in the course of our work. And some interesting findings about dietary practices are that only 17% of children are eating vegetables every day. You contrast that with 40% of children who are eating chips at least once a week. So clearly there is a need for this in terms of shifting dietary patterns. And India, as again, many of you may know, has a national midday meal program, which is the school meals program. And we found through our work that it has high coverage as well as a high degree of reach and impact. For example, 79% of students in the schools we cover say that they feel full after eating the midday meal, and 73% have rated it as good or excellent. And before the pandemic, the Ministry of Human Resource Development also introduced guidelines encouraging schools to set up kitchen gardens that could produce food that could be used to supplement these school meals. So it's great that we are seeing this shift happen in terms of children taking charge of malnutrition. Now, before continuing, I would just like to request all of you who have joined us today, please feel free to share your questions with us. As my colleague Sana has also pointed out, there's a Q&A button at the bottom, and you can also share it in the chat, and we'll find time to come to your questions during our panel today. So speaking of children taking charge, I would love to come to you first, Deep, because of course, in your work, you have looked at focusing on this in Assam and helping children contribute to improving the school meals and connecting them to agriculture. Could you share with us why and how you focused on this?
Thanks, Archana. And it's really exciting platform to be in today, and some wonderful speakers also here. So I'm here to learn more and take this learning back to our work. So Archana, the question around young people taking the leadership around nutrition is it's a very crucial question that came up to us. Even before the nutrition part came to us, we were really concerned about our region, Assam, Northeast to be particular. Northeast is has one of the most fertile land, agriculture land in India, apart from the Gangetic Plain. But Assam is net importer of food, food grains. So rice comes all the way from Punjab and Haryana, fish comes from Andhra Pradesh, and so on and so forth. And when we asked some of the young people, why this is happening, college students as well as some of the farmers, why this is happening, and everybody's saying that, I don't know who will grow all this food because it's not available in our state. And then when we spoke to people, why don't you look at agriculture as one of your aspirations? People said, no, agriculture is not not an aspirational space to be in. And therefore, if you are not aspiring for agri-entrepreneurship or food production, then I think you would not be bothered about the quality of food that you get. You would be probably more bothered about whether you have access to food which is outside your state or outside your region. So to make it aspirational, we went inside the school. We engaged with children on setting up school nutrition garden. And how did that happen? Of course, the same question of how can we put young people in charge of taking the lead rather than farm to food going and saying that we are setting up a school nutrition garden in your school, you should come and help us, instead of doing that. So we took help of Nourishing School Foundation. You have some fantastic toolkit around survey and data collections on nutritional aspects of these young people in school. And we shared this broad data, the broad trend with children that, in your school and in your classroom, this is the broad trend, X percentage of children are malnutrition, X number of children are suffering from such and such health issues. And for a while, they were like little taken aback that, we know that we are not healthy, but we didn't know that we are so ill health, we are in such a bad state of, malnutrition. So then we had a conversation with young people. What do you want to do then? Then somebody said, we have read in our science book that we have to eat green leafy vegetables for our health. I said, then, okay, then would you like to grow some vegetables? They said, yes, why not? Then that's how the journey started, because it bothered them that they are not healthy. And I think that was the critical factor, that it was becoming more personal when we shared data with them that, this is what it is happening. And once they realize that we have to have a school nutrition garden to take care of our own health. And that was also linked to their larger aspirations. We did sessions around aspirations. Initially, we thought everybody should become agri-entrepreneur or food producers, but then, you cannot force everybody to go on one directions only. But we did had a conversation that if you want to become a doctor, or an engineer, or a teacher, or a police officer, or even a officer in a corporate, in a company, you have to have two things. One is good education and healthy diet. And healthy diet, where will it come from? It will come from your school nutrition garden. And good education, we have converted this school nutrition garden into an activity, open science and mathematics laboratory, so children can learn science and maths while they are growing food. And then these vegetables are then are then sent back to their midday meals, where they're getting to eat these green leafy and nutritious vegetables. I think so that's where they could see that the actions that they had taken have immediately shown some results in terms of now everybody's saying that their food plate, their meal, school meal food plate is much more nutritionally rich. So, and that's how they felt very happy about it, that, we could achieve something. So yeah, so that was our learning, and that's how we took it forward from talking about agriculture to food production to health issue, and making it more personal and aspirational for young people in schools.
Great. Thank you, Deep, for sharing how that approach emerged. And Trishita, I'd now like to come to you because DSM has been working extensively on fortification globally and particularly in the area of school meals. Could you tell us more about what has guided your support for this approach and how it connects with agriculture?
Thanks, Archana. Yeah, like at DSM, of course, like food and nutrition is the core of what we do, right? And like even if you look at the sustainable goals, like the two of the goals which are at the core is zero hunger and good health and well-being. So our business models is also based around that. And when we also look at nutrition, providing a good nutrition to children, of course, there are, unfortunately, we still live in a world where a lot of children still don't go to school. But if you look at least the proportion of children who are going to school, and if you want to so that's a very good and nice and easy way of, targeting, and giving a good balanced meal, right, to children. So millions of school children, even till now, worldwide suffered from hunger with chronic, who sometimes chronically lack both the calories and the micronutrients they need for physical and cognitive health development. And which eventually what happens is develops into, lack of educational performance, including their ability to concentrate and learn, right? Like the first 1,000 days, the first few years are so very important. And this subsequently also impact their lives as adults. Hence, we place school feeding programs very important. We consider them very important. And also we think it's a cost-effective solution to ensure that children receive both calories, micronutrients that they need to stay healthy, and which in turn will make them reach their full potential. If you see, like the World Food Program estimates around 305 million primary school kids in low and middle income countries currently benefit from school feeding initiatives. However, still 73 million children across more than 60 countries still live in extreme poverty with no access to national school feeding programs. And school closures, especially due to COVID-19 pandemic, has had a huge impact of in kids who are critically dependent on school meals. So for DSM, together with public and private sectors, we always try to roll out nutrition interventions, providing fortified foods. Of course, one of them being rice, because one of the like globally, if we see the least developed places, they are heavily dependent on rice. Or even point of use fortification like micronutrient powders, which can be sprinkled on top of food and served or eaten, with to help combat malnutrition in children. These are proven, safe, and cost-effective way that we have devised to reduce micronutrient deficiencies in children. And we know that fortification can enhance the nutritional value of ready-to-eat or prepared meals, such as rice, cereal blends, juice, milk, baked goods, and yogurt, which are all part of most of the school meals. Fortified school meals, we know that it allows government to quickly improve the health status of children at regional or national levels. Optimal school nutrition can also support children's cognitive function, immunity, well-being, and allowing them to attend school consistently, perform better, and hence, kind of attain full potential academically and professionally. So for us, from staple food to targeted solutions like MNPs, we offer a range of these kind of intervention solutions that target these kind of population who are at a greater risk, that is mostly women and children. And for us, we are constantly working. Of course, we need partners to work on with this. We can't work alone. So for us, partners are extremely important. So we are constantly working with government as well as a lot of private partnerships to make this happen. Of course, we know the science of it, the food, the micronutrition part of it, but for us, these partnerships are extremely important to deliver these because we don't have the last mile. So that's why, again, we are heavily dependent on the various partners globally.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Rishita. And I think there's such an interesting connect between what you and Deep have both emphasized, something that I know the School Meals Coalition also talks a lot about, which is that this isn't just about providing school meals. It's also about helping children fulfill their potential, and school meals being a sort of platform or vehicle that enables them to do that. And that seems to be a running thread in both your approaches. Again, I just want to remind everyone attending this that we would love to make time to also answer questions from you. So please feel free to use the Q&A button that you will see at the bottom of your screen and put forward any questions, or you could even put them in the chat if you have access to that. So talking about a collaborative approach, as you were just emphasizing, Rishita, so we've heard from Deep, who's a social entrepreneur. You are telling us about the approach of the private sector. I would now love to bring it to Joshita, because Joshita, of course, you would give us the government perspective, and the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, or FSSAI, has been working on fortification in a very significant way, especially in recent years. So could you tell us more about what is being done to promote fortification, and what is it that motivates that?
Yeah, thank you, Archana, and thank you everyone who has joined this. This is a very important topic which we are focusing on, that yes, how our upcoming generations can be part of this and can contribute to this. So at FSSAI, as we all know, that the mandate of Food Authority, the Food Authority of India, is to ensure safe and wholesome food for all the citizens. And it is primarily doing through laying down standards and ensuring that throughout the supply chain, the food that is provided is safe and wholesome. But since it is established, FSSAI has continuously grown and evolved to see that what is the current situation in the country, and they have also taken immediate actions for that. And as we see from evident from our recent National Family Health Survey that has come in 2021, and even in Comprehensive Nutrition National Nutrition Survey in 2019, it was evident that micronutrient deficiencies were prevalent in different age groups and different section of the population. So seeing that what is the immediate solution, and fortification being one of the strategy for that, which is an affordable strategy, it is scalable, it has scientific evidence and has shown positive impact in various countries around the globe. So FSSAI supported this solution, and immediately food fortification as a complementary strategy to combat micronutrient deficiencies. So as we all are aware that fortification is addition of key vitamins and minerals in our staples. Why we are using staples? Because it is commonly consumed and we don't have to make any additional effort or any change in our dietary pattern. It is very easy to integrate. And FSSAI, as a mandatory authority, has operationalized standards for fortified foods. And currently, we have standards for 5 staples that are fortified rice, wheat flour, oil, milk, and double fortified salt. So these are fortified with iron, folic acid, vitamin B12, vitamin A, D. And recently, we have also released standards for processed foods also, like cereals, bakery wares, fruit juices that can be fortified with vitamin C. So all these standards that have been fixed for these are according to the criteria and the recommendations that are there for the Indian population. And how to recognize, to make it more recognizable for common public, we have this logo that is called the plus F logo, which is easy to identify fortified staples. You can just see that plus F logo, and we are creating awareness around this logo as well among consumers, among citizens who are beneficiaries for this. Then fortified staples are also available in open market in ICDS, MDM, and PDS program, the safety net programs of the country. And currently in 2020, the centrally sponsored scheme was launched by Government of India, where fortified rice will be available in all the safety net programs by 2024 in a phased manner. So by 2024, each and every person who is a beneficiary of safety net programs in the country will receive fortified rice only. So we know that this is only one meal we are providing to the school children, but the standards are set keeping in mind the recommendations, and around 40% of our need is met by these foods, the fortified foods that are provided in the schools. So FSSAI plays a very key role in developing the standards, ensuring the quality throughout the supply chain, working with line ministries. It's very important that we have to take everyone on board, and we are the nodal ministry and the nodal organization to run this program. So we are working with Ministry of Education, Ministry of Women and Child Development, and also the PDS department. We are all collaborating with one goal, to combat the micronutrient deficiencies. And we are also conducting regular trainings for frontline workers, for teachers, for school students, to sensitize them about the benefits and how to identify fortified staples and why there is a need. So these are few activities which we are doing at FSSAI to scale up this initiative.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Joshita. And I think it's also very interesting to see this sort of running theme of engagement with the community. It's something that clearly FSSAI, which is doing as a regulatory body, that's, I think, quite innovative for a regulatory body, because usually their sort of engagement is much more with companies and institutions rather than the general public as much. It's also something that Rishita spoke about in their work, that they look to work with the NGOs to be able to reach into communities in terms of impact. And Deep's work, of course, engages directly with communities. I also want to highlight that people have shared with us in the chat that there is this thread of community focus that they also have often in their own work. So thank you for sharing that. And I see that we have one question that I would love for us to make time for. So the question is, what are the common challenges faced for the inclusion of fortified sorry, let me repeat that. What are the common challenges faced for the inclusion of fortified foods in school meals? Would any of you like to take that up?
Maybe, Archana, I can just mention a couple of points that we face. I think, when we look at schools, right, obviously, I think in India, like if I talk about it, there are, of course, there are organizations like, say, Akshay Patra, who's kind of doing a lot for midday meals. And also, so there's a lot of awareness, but there are also a lot of schools where there is a lack of awareness on the science of, like what Joshita also talked about, in terms of what nutrition deficiency causes, right? What are the cause and what are the effects? how it is required. Like maybe we still feel if we can just have, like we usually fill up our belly with rice, right? Like, but in addition to that, and at that age, how, like what are the micronutrition that we need, how to create a balanced meal, and also how to create a balanced meal at, of course, an affordable price, right? Because most of these schools that we are talking about are, of course, operating at a budget. So I think that's pretty much, that's the most challenge, right? Like even like currently we are working a lot in terms of fortified rice in India. And even when we see, like say, for example, even if you see if you supply fortified rice, just blending the rice, like, because say, for example, you have to blend the rice at a, 1:10 ratio. So for that, you need to have at least a blender, because the volume of rice that the school is handling on a per day basis. So for at least, preparing a meal of, say, anywhere between 300 to 500 kids. So those are the, like the challenges that we find in terms of introducing fortified foods. There are other foods that we see, like say, for example, porridges, which are again sometimes not very accepted in India as a food. We are more used to rice and dal and sabzis. Like yogurts, which will have challenges of shelf life, and so that's what we see. It's a matter of awareness, I would conclude, and then combining it with a budget and planning, and that's been the key challenges currently in India.
Thank you for answering that, Trishita. And I also want to thank Arev Mazlumian, who is the person who shared that question with us. You spoke about a lack of awareness and how that also often becomes a challenge. And that, I think, is a great segue for us to also talk a little bit about measures on the demand and the access side. I see that there was also a question talking about how can we ensure diversity in the meals that children get in schools and also in their homes. And I thought that would be a great question to get your inputs on, Deep, because of course, in your work, you have done initiatives to sort of help children discover local varieties of food and then to bring those into their school meals and eventually into their homes. Could you share more information with us about that?
Yeah, thanks, Archana. It's, one of the processes in our school nutrition garden is that we emphasize a lot on entrepreneurship development. And within that entrepreneurship development, resource management is a key aspect to that. So what we do in the school nutrition garden, when children are setting up their garden and they would need seeds and saplings, we would ask them that, we give them a challenge that, we don't have the money to fund your seeds or saplings. What can we do? It doesn't take much of a conversation for them to volunteer that, we can go to my house, I can give this many seeds, my parent can give this many seeds, my uncle can give. So then the school children, they organize a seed donation drive in their community. When they're going for this seed donation drive, imagine if there are 20, 30 children standing on your door and asking for local seeds and local saplings, you would definitely come out and give to them. Yeah. And while giving, you would not just quietly give, but you would also share some of the knowledge around these saplings and seeds, right? And these traditional knowledge about local varieties of seeds, local varieties of herbs, local varieties of vegetables, from there, the knowledge suddenly transforms into an lived experience or practice. These vegetables are then grown in their own school nutrition garden. Now children are, instead of talking about it in their history class that, once upon a time we used to have 101 varieties of vegetable, now they are saying that, yes, we have this vegetable in our garden and we are consuming it in our midday meal. So bringing community together is very, very important if you want to look at the if you want to increase the diversity in your food plate, local knowledge, local know-how is very, very important. Like what Trishita and Joshita also talked about, many of these, there's this challenge of food getting wasted if not cooked immediately. So therefore, if you're growing vegetables locally, if you're not sending it from outside, just locally procuring or locally growing, then it's easier for it to be continuously cooked in and served in your midday meals. So the tradition, and we also started celebrating this and bringing back some of our traditional customs, like in Bihu festival, which is one of the big festival in Assam. We used to serve 101 varieties of vegetables, and that practice has disappeared. Now we are trying to revive, through our young leaders, trying to revive that process. And in this month is the National Nutrition Month. Sorry, September was the National Nutrition Month. I forgot that we are in October.
The year is going by fast for all of us. It's not just you.
Yeah. So National Nutrition Month, we had lots of exhibitions, lots of melas in our schools and agriculture universities and various places. Our children, our school children, wherever they went, they displayed all these 101 varieties of vegetables that they are consuming. It's not just for the show, but also saying that this is how we consume it. So bringing it back into practice is very, very important. It will not just help increase the diversity in your food plate, but also conserve the diversity of nature around you, the diversity of food that is offered by nature around you. And of course, the traditional know-how and practice, traditional knowledge is being brought back into their present system to make it a lived practices, lived experiences to become a learning one. So that's how such small practices we did our school nutrition garden program helps. And in of course, nourishing toolkit also has a component on various food items that are available and the nutrition component, nutrition in all of these important and local vegetables. We took help from your nourishing toolkit, but also took help from the Assam Agriculture University. They also had a compendium list of all the locally available vegetables. Of course, it's not 101, it's about 20-25, but there's lots of opportunities also out there to explore.
Thank you for sharing that, Deep. That's a very interesting anecdote, and I think there's a lot to learn from deepening that community connect. I also want to address a question that has come up from Kamala Anderson, asking if the school meal program in India is free, as in paid by taxes. And the answer to that is yes, it is free. School meals are provided to children for free, and they are funded partially by the central government as well as the state government. And in fact, India is said to have the largest school feeding program in the world. So it is something that has been going on. Sure, go ahead, Deep, for several decades.
And along with that, thanks, Archana. And along with that, I would also like to share that Government of India is also providing financial support for setting up school nutrition garden in all the schools wherever the midday meals are being served. So the amount varies. I think it was 5,000 a year or 6,000 a year. But even for their support for school nutrition garden program also. And there are other programs within the government schemes which also helps in fencing the garden and making a larger, the program through MG Nirega and National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. So through that, you can set up a bigger garden also. So that's also possible.
That's right. And I think it's very encouraging that in the guidelines for these kitchen gardens, they have clearly laid out that not only should they be used to supplement the school meals, which we spoke about, but that they should function sort of as a learning lab for the children, something that you talked about, Deep, and also help them become much more aware about the effects of climate change, clearly an issue that young people nowadays, need to know more about, are interested in knowing about, and taking action towards. And speaking of course, the role of government, I think it would be great to come back to you, Joshita, because of course you spoke about the measures on the regulatory side, and they are very important. And at the same time, in order for them to be more effective, it's necessary to build the demand for healthier foods also, fortified as well as in general. And that's been one of the objectives of the Eat Right India movement of FSSAI. So could you tell us more about what this initiative aims to do, especially amongst school children?
Yes. So, as you all know, that FSSAI's mandate was to set up standards, but they thought that they should not follow this traditional method of setting up the standards, but more holistic and multi-stakeholder approach. So, for that, the FSSAI launched the Eat Right India movement. The movement is a collective effort of all the stakeholders in the food ecosystem. Whoever you think about is there in this. They have one of the initiative for a particular stakeholder as well. So, Eat Right India is based on three key pillars that themes are like Eat Safe, which talks about personal hygiene, surrounding hygiene, adulteration, how to check that. So, all these aspects are covered under Eat Safe. Then we have Eat Healthy pillar, which talks about balanced diet. Then we also have limit our HFSs, the high fat, salt, sugar products that has to be limited. Then elimination of trans fats from our diet, and also food fortification. And the third pillar of this initiative is Eat Sustainable, which talks about local seasonal food, our traditional food practices, then safe food, share food, a innovative initiative created by FSSAI, where we are sharing food with the needies, and there is no food wastage. Then reducing plastic in our supply chain, and also conserving water. So these are the three broad pillars which take care about Eat Right India, and each pillar has a specific initiative for different stakeholders. So one of the initiative is Eat Right School, which also focuses on school children, and it is designed to help them inculcate the habits of food safety, eating healthy, eating sustainable through interactive learning model. The program also encourages and engages students to be part of it and take a lead. So that is very crucial part of this program. And we have created various resources like videos, posters, books are also available, how to integrate eating healthy, eating safe in our normal curriculum, whatever we are teaching to the students, how to integrate that in a more learning and fun way. So this is also available, videos are also available, and we have also created a bank of information in regional languages also. So as we know, India is a diverse country, and we need so many regional languages also. So that is also part of it. And in this program, there are simple 5 steps you have to follow. And we are creating health and wellness ambassadors also. They can be parents, teachers, or even senior students. They can be a health and wellness coordinator in the school program, and can run this program with other students as well. So it is a very comprehensive and innovative way to engage students. And it's currently voluntary, and we have a kind of matrix where school marks themselves, give marks according to the matrix about food safety, hygiene, and various initiatives of FSSAI. So they are given the marking, and after that a certificate is provided to school, that is called the Eat Right School certificate, which is valid for 2 years. So this is the voluntary part which we are focusing on. We want the schools to come up and adopt this. But there is a regulatory part. FSSAI has recently released regulations also to ensure safe and healthy diets in the schools. And in that regulation, one major point is that there should not be sale of any product that is high in fat, sugar, or salt in the school and within 50-meter area of the premises of the school. So that is monitored by the state food safety department. And even we are also discouraging any posters, any advertisements that have high fat, salt, sugar products in the school areas. So this is the program which we are catering, and we are creating awareness both the demand side and the supply side. So we are creating supply side through trainings of food handlers, and also in sensitizing them about the current situation, how to reduce fat, salt, sugar from their meals, and also creating awareness among students, parents, and teachers. So this is a whole program about Eat Right School, and there is a dedicated website also. Anyone can see how this program is running, what is the current status of the program. So that is about Eat Right School. Yes, it's very, very important to balance out between both the demand and supply side. So that is very important to have any program that can lead in future.
Thank you for sharing that, Joshita. And I wanted to let everyone know that my colleague Sana will also be sharing a link to two 1-minute videos in the chat developed by FSSAI. One sums up their food fortification initiative, the one with the symbol that was spoken about earlier. And the other one talks about this Eat Right Schools movement, which particularly, I think, for the regulatory body to take this stance of getting schools to take more of an initiative in ensuring nutrition and food safety, and also in such a way that children get to co-lead this with teachers and their parents, I think can really serve as an example to various schools in the country, but of course to other countries too, because it demonstrates really that shift that we're starting to see, where more and more children are getting to play a leadership role in tackling this challenge. Malnutrition is a major challenge in India as well as globally, and it's only something we can really tackle if all stakeholders get room to sort of take action and come up with their own ideas. So thank you for sharing that. And I'd love to then hear more from you, Trishita, because we know that DSM has had a long-standing commitment to tackling malnutrition through fortification and other objectives. And it's also particularly data-driven, and you've done it through schools. Could you tell us more about DSM's work in the context of schools and in the context of fortification?
Maybe let me just talk about DSM's efforts in India. I would not talk about, of course, globally we partner with WFP, UNICEF, and all of that. I would let me just focus on India here. So, of course, as I said before, we rely heavily on our partners, right? And that's fair. So right now in India, we are very proudly, right now we have capacity to make fortified rice. So that's something that we have started. We are also very, very actively taking part with the government. When government is supplying, government in most of the states, one by one, is making it mandatory to fortify the rice that is going through the PDS. And and that's where we are coming in. We have, of course, fortification. We have our own standards. We understand fortifications very well. We are also doing a lot of white papers and thought papers on what kind of fortification is required. Currently we are looking at basic like anemia, iron, and that's the, B12, that's the main thing, but we are looking at what are the other kinds of fortification that can happen. Secondly, let me also talk about the, couple of other partnerships that we are currently doing. One, of course, is with you, Archana, which with Nourishing Schools. So with Nourishing School, we are looking at Nourishing School is developing a program where basically it's a format where it develops content for schools. And currently it's at a pilot stage. So the idea is to develop content, which will be both, it's more audio visual content. And the first round will be teaching the teachers. And then ultimately it should be, adopted by all the schools as a part of their syllabus. And this content, of course, is talking about food, nutrition, eating right, which, like Joshita, Archana, Deep, all of you touched upon. So this is something that we are very, very, and proud to be associated with Nourishing School in terms of developing this. One of the good things about this is also it's vastly scalable, right? Because India as a country, we know it's very challenging to reach to different parts of the country. But something like this program, once it's piloted successfully, we are looking to translate it maybe in the other languages and deploy it effectively across India. That is number one. Number two, again, we are partnering with another organization, which are which what Deep spoke about is very close to that. We are working with the Delhi municipal schools, and as you know, most Delhi MCD schools has a reasonable. These are schools from which has been for a very long time. They have huge campuses. So we are helping them develop gardens in the school, and in that, so like a few months is basically a classroom coaching where you're learning maths, you're learning everything, right? How to measure, how to divide, and then what crops to grow, when to grow, how to grow, what kind of grows quickly, what takes time, and things like that. And DSM as a corporate, we are engaging with them. We are going to have first sowing season next week with one of the schools. And so these are again activities. Again, this is also something that we are piloting. If it is successful, then it can be very, very scalable to across at least the MCD schools in Delhi. So these are some of the efforts that we are doing. Of course, always looking forward for like-minded partners, to work together in this space.
Thank you for sharing that, Trishita. And of course, we are also very glad to collaborate with you on piloting foundational food literacy. It again goes back to the theme of nutrition education that the coalition talks about. And we've also, of course, collaborated with Deep's organization, Farm to Food Foundation, covering over 90 schools with them in Assam, and as well as with the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India on the Eat Right India movement, particularly in its focus on schools. I just now, before we might just get time to make room for one more question if we can. So if anybody has been hesitating to submit it, please do go ahead in the next couple of minutes. But I wanted to come to each of the panelists and ask you if you had sort of 2 to 3 takeaways that you would suggest for achieving healthier school meals. So in the order that I think we've been discussing this, Deep, I'll come to you first, and then to Joshita, and then to Trishita. So over to you, Deep. What are 2, 3 takeaways from your side?
It's very hard to say just 2 or 3. There are so many learnings, but I think one coming together of all the important stakeholders is very, very important. Not just in co-creating solutions, but also implementing solutions in them. For example, if a child is encouraged to eat vegetables, and if the parents are themselves not eating vegetables, then it won't work. If the school is asking children not to consume food which are not good for their health, and just right outside the school, if there are kiosks or shops selling foods which are not good for their health, so there is a dichotomy. So the important aspect is that everybody has to come together: the community, the school, children, parents, corporate, government. Everybody has to come together, and wherever they have come together, I have seen massive impact and change. Like when 2011, when we started off our program of School Nutrition Garden, we started working in about 17 schools, probably. Yeah, 16 or 17 schools. And now after the Assam government adoption of School Nutrition Garden and central government adopting the School Nutrition Garden, there is this 1.2 million schools who are under this School Nutrition Garden platform called, so therefore it is important that if you want to see healthy meals in each of these 1.2 million schools, then you will have to engage the local people as well. I cannot sit here in Assam and tell people or schools in Kerala saying, that you have to do such and such farming. The local people, the local tradition knowledge has to be picked up and has to be complemented with, centralized knowledge, the experiences that Trishita and Joshita brings in. Those agencies will also have to play complementary and mentoring role for the local leaders. So that is one. And of course, like I said in the very beginning, that it has to be an aspirational for the child to eat healthy. We can't force them to do whatever we like. It has to be aspirational because they are dreaming about it. They are thinking about it, that in order to achieve my goal, my dream, this healthy meal is going to help me in my journey, in my aspiration, in achieving my goal. So yeah, those are two broad things that I can think of my head. But yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, Deep. Joshita.
Yeah, thank you. So 2 major points covered by Deep. Yeah. So next would be like for a successful implementation of any program, awareness is the key. So to have a implementation that we have set the standards, but whether people are following it or not, and whether people are aware about it or not. So that is very important to create awareness that what is their current right to the food, or like when we talk about fortification, when we started about distributing fortified rice, people were not aware. They were throwing the fortified rice with the myth that it has plastic or some other myths around fortified rice that it might taste different. So what we are doing as one of the example is we are doing this demonstration activities in high burden and aspirational districts where fortified rice is provided to beneficiaries of school programs, and we are inviting them, sensitizing them about midday meal and about fortified rice and what are its benefits, and also we are providing them a tasting also about for fortified rice, that the dish that is prepared locally by a local chef of their taste, of their likability, that there is no difference in taste and color, and to create that awareness, that is very important. Now we see that those districts are happily accepting that fortified rice, and they are willing to make a change in their diet just to switch from normal rice to fortified rice. So that while we are implementing, that awareness is very important. And then the second point is continuous engagement with school children, with school, to motivate them that yes, healthy eating and this lifestyle is very important. Safe and healthy diets are very important. So we are doing this through various competitions for school students, various competitions for even for parents also, under the Eat Right School, to maintain that momentum that yes, they are engaged with us. So these are very two important points which I feel right now.
Great. Thank you for sharing that, Joshita, and sharing examples as well. Trishita, we'd love to hear from you.
I think, for me, the key takeaway, I think first one is I think, as I hear everybody, and I think globally there is a lot of emphasis on children. I mean, they definitely are our tomorrow, right? So just in terms of, and what especially like what Deep was talking about, like like even when we were growing up, it's about like finishing your education and getting a job, and getting a job essentially means you've become an IT or an engineer or like things like that. But what about agriculture as a sector? Agriculture is a career, right? And that is also something that we as a DSM also we promote. Like we love scientists, we love farmers, because they are such integral part of our ecosystem. We there's going to be an increased population, and we have problems of soil, we have problems of everything. How are we going to feed the the population which is growing at this rate. So I think that is one key takeaway, that there's a lot of emphasis. So there's a lot of emphasis on teaching the kids. I mean, when we are talking about midday meals, it's about, okay, give them what they should eat, right? But now we are all talking about teaching them what they should eat, and I think that's brilliant. Like, and like what we are doing with you, Archana, and also with a couple of other NGOs is essentially not. And we are DSM, even when we choose our programs, we don't want to buy supplies, because we know that that kind of solves the problem temporarily. We can always sponsor meals for our school for 1 year, but we would rather sponsor a program which teaches them about food, which teaches them about growing crops. And I think because that will stay with them for the rest of their life. And there is, like, awareness and appreciation of that. So I think that's one key takeaway for me, which I absolutely love. Secondly is one on awareness, like, and I know, and I would compliment Joshita on that, like what FSSI also has done in India. We have a lot of awareness now on, like, in terms of, at least in the back of packs, you're writing what you're eating, right? Like, making it mandatory for corporates to disclose, how much sugar is there, how much salt is there, how much white flour is there, right? Like, and so, like FMCG companies just can't pick and choose what they want to kind of publish and what they don't want to publish. Even things like the F+ logo, even, when F+ was initially launched, they had gotten even Virat Kohli to kind of talk about it. I think these are great initiatives that are being taken to, then create that, kind of awareness and promotion. So I think we are all headed, in the right way, and this would definitely be my two key takeaways.
Thank you. I think talking about long-term impact and striking a hopeful note is a great sort of tone to end this session on. We are just slightly over time. I want to thank all of our panelists yet again for sharing your wisdom and your experience with us today. Dr. Joshita Lamvaseni, Deep Jyoti Sonu Brahma, and Trishita Dalui, thank you so much for sharing that with us. I'm also very grateful to the School Meals Coalition for providing us with this platform. And most importantly, of course, thank you so much to the audience for joining this session and being open enough to share your perspectives and your questions and just your thoughts with us. I think we learned a lot from that. I hope you'll continue to stay engaged with this event today. There is an interesting session coming up after this as well on National School Health and Nutrition Programming. We hope that you found this session somewhat inspiring, as we were talking about in the word cloud earlier, and gave you something to think about. Thanks again.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.